one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, and let the roll reflect. We do have a majority of members with the absence of Councilmember Lawrence. Approval of minutes. Any approval of the June 15th minutes, Council? Okay. Thank you. Comments from the audience. Anyone wish to speak to the audience at this time on Zoom?
There's an individual on, but they not raised their hand.
If the individual on Zoom would like to speak to the council at this time, please raise your hand via Teams. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. Council items to be considered. Any council items to be considered, council? Okay, none. I would accept a motion to accept the consent agenda. Councilmember Pemble and Councilmember Verichoff. Any discussion, council? All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Tonight, under awarding of contracts, we have the Highway 61 project update. And for this item, we will have an introduction by Bryant Fisak with MnDOT. Welcome, Bryant. We're very excited.
Yep. All right. Mayor and Council, thank you for having me back. It's good to be back. Good to see you again. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this project as we try to keep you informed and make sure we are staying up to date with our engagement and providing as much as we can about the latest of what's going on. I do have a couple other MnDOT people here with me. Robert Jones, he is the project manager, going through, working with it. He also wears some other hats, working with our contractor. We have a special contract on this, and he's working with the contractor as he reviews stuff, and then also, helping represent the area side of MnDOT as he's working with the community, making sure we stay connected. And then Philip Schaffner as well from MnDOT, who is helping in the manager role for the south area, which covers Hastings, Dakota County. And so he is also here to help out if I need to phone a friend or if there's other questions, I will turn to them and we will do our best to answer any questions that come up. So as I look at the agenda of what we're going after, a lot of this stuff, some of this stuff has been presented before, either at previous meetings with you or with the public and some business meetings. There's also new stuff that I will try to present as well. But at any time, if there's questions, feel free to stop me, interject. I'm happy to have a discussion on any of the items as we go forward. And so with that, this should be review. Project purpose: facilitate safe and efficient multimodal movement of people and goods on the Highway 61 corridor while maintaining infrastructure at a state of good repair and enabling community connections. So, long sentence, kind of a mouthful. Basically, we want the corridor to be safe, we want it to move traffic, and we want to make sure it works within the community and is not a barrier to the community. It doesn't split you into sides. Some of the stats we have on there are just from the vision plan. Goes right along with everything we've been talking about before. There is a lot of traffic on this corridor. There is a lot of heavy truck traffic on the corridor. That second bullet, MVM, stands for million vehicle miles, which is a way we measure crashes on the corridor as a way to compare them. So when we're looking at this corridor, that crash rate is 3.9. When we compare that to similar ones, the crash rate is 1.8. So we are seeing a little more than double of the crashes we would expect on this type of facility. Gets back to we want to make it safer. Third bullet point on there, southbound travel. As we looked out and we projected growth on the corridor, that southbound travel, it takes about 5 minutes to go from one end to the other in Hastings. When we projected out, that jumped up to 22 minutes. So when we talk about mobility improvements, that's what we're trying to avoid, make sure we're not having that congestion throughout the corridor. And then, a lot of high density access. There are a lot of driveways. There are a lot of different access. Those are all the things that come through and everything we looked at as we start to look and put this plan together for what we want to do, what we want to construct on the corridor. Those are just some of the stats we keep in mind. All right, so project status, the 4 bullet points at the top are kind of generalized for MnDOT projects. We generally have a planning portion of it where we look at the corridor, we try to figure out what it wants to be when it grows up, develop what those recommendations are, then we move into a scoping where we try to take what the vision is, what those recommendations, hone it down, what does the project want to be, how are we going to fund it, if we need to go out and get outside funding, we go for that as well. Then we move into what is called preliminary design, where we take the vision and that scoping, put some engineering to it, make some good drawings and say, okay, this is what we're going to build. And then we get into that last stage of final design. Now that we know what we're going to build, we detail how we're going to build it. So as we move along on the calendar there, we've been through the planning, we've had our vision study, we've been through scoping. We're still working on the funding piece. I have a slide on that for later. We are through the preliminary design. We know what the corridor is going to be, what it's going to look like, and we are in final design now as we determine how it's going to be built. Public engagement along the top, that is consistent. We want to make sure we are out in the public. I think we are doing a good job as a team working with the city and making sure we are talking to businesses and the public. And then the last point I'll have on this one, construction. I have the years on there, 27 to 29. I'm going to get back to that, so just keep in mind that that is a change that we've had from previous ones, and I will go into that in more detail. All right, so this slide I have kind of split into 3 things. Again, we have our project partners, just the agencies on this, the city, the county, and the state, all working together. We have our coordination in the middle, where we have Met Council and their work on the corridor. We're working to get their intercept lines in. The school district with the field there, definitely working with them. Prairie Island, this is obviously a key aspect for them as they go down to the casino. Businesses and public, so all aspects, all elements that we're coordinating with and making sure we're trying to get them prepared for the project, get their input on the project, and just keep everyone coordinated as we move through. The last one on there, the project team, all the agency staffs are working on this, so we're all coordinating together, working as a team, and then we do have a lot of consultants on board to help us with this as well. The CMGC is our contractor, so we're doing this slightly different from our standard process. We have a contractor that we have brought on board, and they are able to review the plans, help us determine how best to build this, work with us on the estimates, so we're getting that number as good as we can. And then presumably, if they are doing a good job and we are working with them well, we have that team, that contractor who would then move into construction. The other part I want to highlight is just the business liaison and engagement. We do have a specific person for that. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more later, but that is one of the consultant contracts we have. And so basically the point of this slide, it is a big project. There are a lot of people working on it. There are a lot of elements that are part of this. And credit to Robert for getting all the consultants on board and bringing all those people together, as well as credit to city staff who has been working with us and attending a lot of our meetings as we have things divided into lots of different aspects as we work through the plan and project. All right, so I'm going to present a little bit more about the layout and where we are. I'm going to compare back to the vision plan that we have so I can point out where there are some changes, how we came through, so just some key areas of note. I'm not going to go through the whole plan, but just wanted to hit some highlights of different areas. So on the left is the vision study. On the right is the layout as it came forward. And so this area is right around 5th. And with the vision study, we had planned to provide that raised median there, cut off the left turns to improve safety and mobility along this corridor. And that is what we're implementing as we go through. One of the changes that is not quite reflected on here, but We worked with the fire station, and we are going to provide a mountable median in there so that their trucks can go over the middle if they need to. It wouldn't be a right in, right out for them if there is an emergency. So that is one aspect. Again, we talked about that coordination piece. We're working with emergency services. That is one aspect that they requested, or we had that conversation back and forth, and we'll be implementing that. On the 10th and 55, so this is obviously congested area. Lots going on in this area, 2 signals side by side. From the vision plan, we had that basically changing it into 2 T intersections, and that is what we're moving forward with. One aspect on this, the right in only, kind of opposite Highway 55. We're taking that a little further. We're bringing that all the way down to Sibley, providing those connections into Walgreens, into the property on the south side there. North is to the right, if you haven't figured that out. Sorry about that. 10th Street as well. We know with this change, we are taking more traffic, the Walgreens traffic that can't go through on 55. They're going to be using 10th more. That's going to provide more traffic. We had worked with our traffic group a little bit more. Do we need to make changes on 10th? Do we need to add more lanes or anything like that? And from their review, the answer was no. And the reason for that is because we are cutting off traffic moving the opposite direction, that traffic will flow more efficiently. So if you think about if you're waiting to turn left, if there are cars on the opposite side, you have to hesitate, you have to wait. What is the opposite car doing? Are they going through? Are they turning? We've taken that away. There's no decision. The light turns green, you look for PEDs and you make your move. So that traffic will flow through the intersection more efficiently. Similarly, with the traffic timing on there, because we are able to redistribute the green time, there's nothing needed for that 4th leg. We'll be able to provide adequate green time all the way around. So again, just taking a look at 10th and how that might move into the future, we've done that evaluation. All right, moving, again, kind of moving south along the corridor, getting into 11th and 12th there. This is an area where we needed to extend that northbound left turn lane to 55. We want to make sure that people can move into that turn lane. They're not blocking northbound traffic, preventing some congestion there. That caused a ripple effect in terms of how access will be through here. But as you can see between the 2 pictures, we are pretty much matching what we planned in the vision. We're extending that left turn. We're changing some of the access around there. We've talked with those businesses multiple times about this plan. One of the aspects that I know the city is still considering and working on would be vacating 12th, allowing that business to use that with easements for the utilities through there. Conversation yet to be had on that. But again, trying to provide more for the mobility and the safety of the intersection, and then make the changes in access that are needed to facilitate that. Similar concept as we go down in the 12th to 14th area. One big change on this one, you can see kind of in the vision study on the left side, there's a long section of median in the middle there that's kind of that red or orange brown color there. As we looked at and as we worked with the businesses and looked at how their vehicles are moving around, trucks, deliveries, those sort of things, we had to make some adjustments, and this is one area where we opened up another left turn to the west side. So it shortens that median that we had originally envisioned. And let me see if I can. Yeah, so cursor, we had this long median that we were planning, and now on this side, opening that up to allow that left turn in there. So just, again, as we worked with the businesses, trying to make some accommodations where we can, where it would not affect, going back to our purpose, where it would not affect our safety and mobility. Can we make some of these changes to better accommodate the business needs while maintaining the purpose of the project? 16th, very similar aspect. Again, the main point on this one, longer median here that we anticipated, and we had to open it up on this side to allow those lefts in. Similar case evaluated in terms of our safety and mobility, balancing that with the business needs, and found we can make this change, still accommodate that, and accomplish our goals. So 18th to 19th area around the mill, on the vision plan, we had worked on aligning 18th, providing a signal there, and then our original vision was having all truck traffic come through that intersection. As we have continued to talk with the mill, they explain more about their operations and where their trucks are going, how they work internally. And so on the right side for the layout, we have allowed that right in, providing our right turn lane to allow those trucks to come in at that spot, which will help with their internal operations. And then exiting truck traffic in particular, still goes up to the signal and uses the signal for that safe entrance onto Highway 55, whether they're going to the north or the south. So an accommodation there for the mill, and still working with them in terms of, it's not fully what they want, but it is an accommodation for their internal operations. Back to our purpose and needs, still protecting what we want to do on the corridor, and then we're continuing to work with them in terms of what other changes might be needed in that area for their internal operations, not for the highway itself. County Road 47, in the vision study on the left side, when we looked at this, we had envisioned lining this up, providing a 90-degree intersection and providing 2 left turn lanes on the county road to go northbound onto 61. And so it's a little hard to tell in the screen capture we've got from the layout, but you can tell that we do not have that lined up at 90. It is still a little skewed as it is today. And it's, again, a little hard to see, but that is a single left turn and a single right turn. And so this was another area that we went back. We had conversations with our traffic group, with the county, looking at the ultimate plans for what the county wants to do, but also looking at the operations. So we took a lot of time to detail out the paths, particularly truck paths. How are they turning around those corners? And as we looked at some of those paths with dual lefts, we know there's those paths, whether it's lined up or skewed, there was a chance for that overlap. And so one of the things that we were looking at is, well, if we can't allow trucks in both lanes, how do we tell them that? What does that look like? So that's a difficulty that we would have had going with 2 lefts. Also, as we continued to review the traffic projections and look out into the future, do we truly need them, or is this an area that we can we stay with 1 lane essentially? And our traffic group came back and said, if we, similar to what I talked about on 10th, how it's a T intersection, we can optimize the signal operations there. They were confident that a single lane can serve the needs now and into the future for that county road. And the skew, again, lining up, it was in my head that 90-degree would be better, but going back to the truck movements and how those vehicle paths come through the intersection, the skew actually helps them. Most of them aren't turning left at this intersection, and it makes it an easier turn for them to accomplish that. And they can still do the turn to go southbound as well. So can change from what we envisioned, but run through all of our experts, talked with the county about it as well, coordinating with them and moving forward with this as we feel is the best way to accommodate our purpose now and into the future. 21st to 23rd, from the vision study, this is where we had talked about a backage road, serving those businesses better in that aspect. Where we ran into difficulty on this one is with our environmental regulations, and providing that backage road would have put additional requirements on the project and driven up the cost, potentially have introduced noise walls into the project, and that is something we definitely want to stay away from. I don't think there's any need for noise walls along this corridor, and that goes against that community connectedness. So the layout, as we've shown, we do not have that backage road in there, and because we don't have the backage road, we made some accommodations in terms of how the accesses will be treated, how those lefts will be coming in. So it's a balance between some access management on here, but still allowing for the business accesses without the backage road. Nothing we are doing here precludes that backage road from coming in later. And so this is one area that we will continue to monitor. And if we need to do more changes, if we need to do a backage road, we can do it in a separate process later, which would then limit some of those regulations that we're struck with right now based on what's coming in.
May I ask a question?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
No worries, thank you. I didn't know if it was so can you just talk a little bit more about what that process would look like? And if we don't know what the process is, that's okay. I guess what I'm wanting to get at is that if a business had a concern and said, hey, I really do need this backage road back there, what would that process look like to get it up and running? And how quickly could something like that be done?
So the process would be, again, our continued conversations as we go back and forth. If there's issues out there, whether it's working with me or Robert or whoever may be in our roles at the state, it's talking with them first, having that evaluation, letting our experts go look at it as well, making sure that we're coordinated. Is the need there? Do we recognize that, yes, it's there. Is there a different way to do it? It just coming in first and foremost of establishing, do we all agree that the need is there? And then it would go through the process in terms of somewhat of our standard process in terms of highway project, depending on if it's a state or a city project too. We'd have to. There's a few different ways this could move forward, I guess, depending on who wants to lead it and how this comes in. Yeah, timing, it completely depends on when we would see this. Obviously, we want to get through this project first, get this fully constructed, let it operate, see how things go. So it's not something that we would envision coming back, I would hope, not immediately. If we needed it within that 5-10 years afterward, that would be something that we'd be working on and monitoring.
Thank you, Councilmember Verchov. Dan, did you have a?
Just a little additional. The backage road stuff is actually, I believe, contemplated in our 2040 comprehensive plan. So it's more laying out for future redevelopment of the area more than existing businesses along there currently. So it's a bit more future oriented. The other reality, unfortunately, is it probably would, the reference to there's multiple ways to address this, but it would most likely be a local project and almost entirely local cost.
The one, I agree with you, thank you for the add, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add, depending on the access management in the area. So if there's access management, that is the way for the state to get involved in some form. I don't know what that form may be at this point.
So MnDOT may cost share on some of the approaches or intersections, but the whole road structure across the back would all be city.
I was trying to hold off. I have 7 questions. And I was thinking, boy, it'd be nice if we stopped in between here somewhere. And I feel like we missed a couple streets, so I've got questions. But my first question is it possible to see just the layout? Because no offense, the vision study is no longer valid, right?
Yes, we're working on the turning the layout into design plans at
Okay,
this point,
so the vision study is what we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years, and you're comparing, we're seeing, this is what we sort of talked about, but this is what we're gonna do. And no, I can't read any of that on the layout, so I'm really confused as to who gets a left in, who gets a left out. That's the part I don't understand here. You know, so as we're talking about, some spots they're getting a left in, I can see it on like a squiggly line there, where there looks like there's a lane change there. So I guess, yeah, so I guess I'm a little confused. So 1, is it possible to see just the layout? 2, 55 and 10th, or 61 and 10th, that we're making into a one-way, 10th Street,
That's correct.
one-way going west?
That's correct.
correct.
Perfect, okay, that's what I thought, but I couldn't tell by looking at that. And then the 11th to 12th, the next one, the southbound, is that a turnaround? Like up in front of Perkins? That lane, or is that a left into those businesses?
This
That right
is
there.
left in,
That's a left in.
yep.
Okay, so now comes my question, is that also a turnaround then? Because how then do people get back to, hypothetically, the Dairy Queen? Is that where people would come into that lane? Because it's what we do right now to get into Duff's Meat and the liquor store.
Yeah. If-
You,
It's a left turn only, but it can be a U-turn if you have a large enough gap, yes.
and will we have a large enough gap? Because what's the
in
plan
traffic.
for
A gap
that
in
little
traffic.
mini mall, right?
Yep.
That little
Yep.
Fortune Cookie and Dunkin' and those
Yep.
guys?
And that's what we've told the businesses, yes.
Yeah, so then my question comes into, how was it decided that we'd have a turn into, I don't even know where that turn is. No, the left turn.
This one?
That one, where's that turning into?
It's turning into that access for that strip mall there. So it's a change.
that's the access.
Currently, their left in is at their northern driveway.
Yes,
And so because we need to extend the turn lane to get to 55, that northbound turn lane, we can't allow the other lefts through. So now, what we have talked with with the business owner properties about is shifting their access to their southern driveway, allowing the left ins at that point.
so some of our businesses still have lefts in while traveling north or south. Some don't.
That's correct.
And those who don't, will we have an access, this is the perfect example, will there be an access there for a vehicle to turn around and go to the Dairy Queen, hypothetically,
Or into the strip mall to go to Dairy Queen.
which isn't a direct connection?
It's not a direct connection.
On the, yes, let's keep it simple. Yes, they can do U-turns there.
Okay,
We have also talked to the business about potentially on the backside of that strip mall. There is a lane there, they have that drive-through there. Would they allow people to come through that way to get to the Dairy Queen as well, so they wouldn't have to do a U-turn? That's a separate conversation, but just, those are the things we're talking about
this
as
just
well.
feels like a very far away from where we started. This seems to me like the topic of conversation over the years has been to increase safety and to slow down speeds and to help pedestrian movement. And now it's like,
So this
there's
is
already a
why,
lane there. What do,
this is why I wanted to show the vision study as well, because the
Yeah.
changes that we just talked about for that strip mall were a part of the vision study. Access management was part of the vision study as part of our ways to increase safety on there. With all the different movements that are going on today,
Okay.
it can be confusing both as a driver and as a pedestrian when you have to walk constantly across these driveways. So we looked for opportunities where we could close a driveway, change a driveway in terms of limiting lefts out or lefts in. And that's where we started with a base plan. We got into our vision study, had recommendations there, continued conversations with businesses, with city staff and others, and then made adjustments where either we looked at it and said, okay, what are the new travel paths for this business? Customers, deliveries, how are they getting in? 16th was a good example of that. We wanted that to be, well, let me get to it. So this was a change from the vision study that we carried forward, but originally that was 16th was going to be a right in, right out. So if this meet-in had extended through, that would have been a right in, right out only, but in conversations with businesses, looking at how are we protecting our safety and mobility, we made the change and said, yeah, you know what? It still meets our purpose if we allow those left ins, and it helps the businesses in that area because without that left in, their travel path would have been several blocks all the way around. So those were the things that we went through and again, both with the city, working with our experts, trying to go through and determine where can we make reasonable changes, still allowing for travel paths, still allowing for deliveries that are going to help with our safety and mobility of the corridor, meet our goals for it.
So this example right here at 16th Street. 15th isn't changing. Turn lanes, you can go left, you can go right, you can go straight, whatever.
Correct.
At 16th Street, you could be traveling northbound and make a left into the hotel.
Yes.
Or you could make a right onto 16th Street and go to the bank or O'Reilly's.
Correct. Now, from 16th, to keep with this example,
16th Street is what, 100 yards right there? Not even?
Yeah.
from
It's the-
15th,
16th. 16th Street goes from, at that spot, it goes from Vermillion Street into a development,
Florence.
into apartments.
Yep.
There are two
Florence.
businesses that you connect back into that, and otherwise it's apartments and a house, and a couple houses.
yeah, and it continues
So-
around the block back to 15th.
Comes back to 15th.
Yeah. And so that, and that goes right into what, pardon my interruption,
No.
but just to, we are not allowing those left outs from 16th. So if you are on 16th, you can't turn southbound
Right.
because you can go to 15th and use the signal and turn that way. So it,
And make a U-turn? If
No,
I'm,
you can just go
Dan's got a
southbound.
look on his face.
You just go
I've-
southbound.
I've just pulled out a Merchants Bank. I took a right onto 61, and I want to go to Quick Trip. I'm going to go to the light, I'm going to cross 2 lanes of traffic. I'm going to sit in the westbound turn lane. I'm going to flip a UE, which, by the way, when I flip my UE, people are getting their walking late. So I'm going to flip my UE, and I'm going to go back from 15th to 17th to pull into Quick Trip on the right, on the west side of the road. I'm just saying, to me, none of this feels like we're making it safer.
More safer for pedestrians especially.
It doesn't feel like we are. And so my last question, maybe, 18th Street, no, 17th Street, Quick Trip.
Leduc.
not,
Leduc.
not,
We're
Yeah.
doing nothing there? So people can still go cross over from the west side of 17th
17th.
and go northbound?
yes,
No light, no nothing?
no light, no,
Lights on 18.
the light's on 18th.
Okay,
And that's where we
seems like a waste of time.
That's where we looked at that and determined where should the signal be, 17th, 18th, how does this work? And the light at 18th,
But you're gonna let people make a left out of there. They can make a
At
left
17th.
in, and they can make a left out.
correct, that's still full access.
That's a horrible intersection. That's my neighborhood, that's a horrible.
17th?
17th Street. People sitting at that stop sign, waiting to go north on 61. I can see going out, going to the light and coming back, yes. I can see people coming northbound and being able to take a left in, that I can see. It's that crossing of traffic at
East to
a
go
at a
south.
non-signaled road, that's the problem, which is what we've got right now with 17th, 18th, 19th. Those are all open to cross northbound from the west side of the road. Some of us, I'm on a scooter all the time, I don't go through there, I go up to the light. But many people, and so what did we do? We're allowing them to do it at 17th, but we're not allowing them to do it at 11th. I mean, I just don't understand the,
Well, I hear you, and as the project manager, if I may, I'd like to get that input from you.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind writing that down and your concerns at these intersections, getting it to Ryan, if you would please, so I can take it to my team and we can look at it. We're in between 30% and 60% design right now. After I get to 60% design, I'm not gonna be changing much. So I'd like to be able to look at this now and change it. One thing that I can say, and what Brian's talking about, is you have a visionary study, and that study is a high-level 30,000 feet study, what you come in here. It's your best engineering guess. We have planners, we have study and planners and engineers looking at a visionary study at a 30,000 feet. That never works out in the end. Then you get into a 30% and a layout, and this is pretty close to what we look at geometrically designed, what can fit in the corridor, what can fit, what turning movements can work. We've got ADA professionals out there looking at the crosswalks, looking at that. I've got signal gurus telling me what timings are going to be looked at, and that's at 60%, how we're going to time these things for the pedestrians going across it. So I've got those folks looking at that. That's when we really start getting into the nuts and bolts. We've got the city utility folks and our utility folks, and there's been a lot of acronyms thrown up here, the SUE, subsurface utility engineering, all of those utilities, and you put that all together, the visionary study gets thrown out. It's a good start. Then you start getting the layout. That was a really good start for us. Now we're finalizing that. To answer your first question, yes, we're going to have a beautiful layout that's all signed and laid out for us at the open house that we're having at the school in a couple weeks. So please come to that and we'll have that all laid out for you. And once I get that signed and all done, finalized, it's all been signed by our geometric folks, we'll have that all done and we'll be able to get copies for you and copies to Ryan and have that up on our
But
website.
Robert, at that point, is it too late?
Nothing's too late
Well,
until I
it is.
get
You
to
said once you get over
60%.
60%?
Once I get to 60%, then it's hard to
Right,
change
so
things.
at this
That's
meeting-
why I want to know now.
Okay.
I want to get that
Hold on,
stuff
hold
now
on,
so I can look at
So
it.
this is the first we're seeing this, right? So it's
No,
all-
it's not.
The changes?
We
seen
we
it a
showed you
couple
some
times.
changes
Yeah,
before.
we've seen some pieces here and there.
Yeah.
So as we're seeing it and going, okay, as you're reading it, because none of it makes sense to me, right? I know the streets, that's it. So I don't know how to read any of that. But as we're hearing it, it's like, okay, wait a second, what about this, what about this? So it's a good opportunity for us to know now. We can provide some feedback. And my last question until you get on to the next streets is, are we adding a right turn lane southbound 61 at 46?
Yes.
Adding a turn lane onto 46 from
Yes.
southbound.
So that's a good
Yes.
thing.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to,
So
trying to
far,
take
you got me there, Robert.
your thoughts, I'm
You got
trying to
me
take
there.
your thoughts, regurgitate them into my engineering mind and tell you what we can and can't do. And that's why I want to read what you're saying and get them from
Yeah.
Brian, get them to my team and see if there's
So
something
to
we
put
can
it
do.
into perspective, we've got a series of houses out on 61, if any of you worked on that last project out by Coburn's. We've got people who can't turn left into their driveways.
I know
We're
that.
not talking
I know
large
that.
amounts of traffic.
I'll be the first to admit there was
We're talking
mistakes.
homeowners trying to get in their driveways. They gotta go down to the roundabout.
I know that, but we're not here to talk about that.
No, we're not, but I'm saying, this is why these things right now, my questions come into, it's like, okay, wait a minute. We've got X amount of traffic moving through this part of the corridor.
It's
but
my
we're-
job to make this project right.
Okay.
And we're trying to make this one right.
Okay, so then my question comes into safety and just making sure that all of these left turns are,
We're making this as safe as possible, but to try to make everyone happy, the landowners happy, the business owners happy, and everyone happy here, I'm not gonna make you happy 100%.
Right.
well,
I'm
if
not
you're
gonna
not
make
even gonna
everyone
try, I
happy.
guess that'll work
But I'm
out.
gonna
so.
try to make the majority of people happy, and this is gonna be a great project in the end. I agree.
I think too, what Councilmember Liefeld is trying to get across, we're the ones that lived here, we've lived here our whole
Yep.
lives. We know how to move around, right?
Yep,
It's not necessarily for the people going through our community to get to another area. It's for us that live here. We know you're gonna try to do the best thing you can for safety, but when we have questions like this come up, these are because these are the questions we're gonna have to answer to our community.
But that's why we have such a good partnership here.
Yep.
And we have so many city engineers, city partners that are on all of our meetings. They're in
And we
there every
appreciate
week.
that.
We have so many
appreciate it.
city partnerships from City of
Sure.
Hastings on our meetings here.
I think in 10 days, when we have the community meeting too, I think
We'll get a lot out of that.
we're gonna have a lot more
You
questions.
saw the first one that was here. They
Yeah.
were lined up out the
Yeah.
door.
And you know what? We want their input. This is their
We
community,
sure do.
right?
Yep.
And I might add on my final statement to that is, when the city and the people come, you might want to try to tone it down a notch. I felt it feels aggressive to me, so just making sure that as we're listening to these comments, because we hear them all the time.
Yeah, I felt very
Yeah,
aggressive
yeah.
from you too.
Yeah,
So we
and minor
we meet
questions.
aggressiveness
Yeah.
with aggressiveness,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
thank you.
And we both need to not do that, so, thank you.
Councilmember Verichov.
I'm feeling passion for the
Yeah,
project.
that's a better
okay?
word.
I'm
gonna use some
passionate.
nonprofit, really gentle language there, not so much aggressiveness, but passion for the project. And Robert, you do bring a lot of passion to this,
I'm
and I
passionate.
love it.
I am not aggressive, I'm very
No,
passionate.
I completely agree, and I believe the same about my colleague, Councilmember Liefeld, and I'm grateful for you both. I've had the good
Brian.
fortune of going to the workshops that the chamber has partnered with you all on, so I've seen this maybe a little bit more than some of my colleagues have, because we haven't had a separate workshop or something like that necessarily for the entire thing for our entire body. But to Councilmember Liefeld's point, and I think not to put too fine a point on it here, what the mayor was saying is that it is going to be the community that has all these questions. This is a community of more than 22,000 people, and so when we are talking about, and as somebody that loves Dunkin' Donuts and loves Dairy Queen, I gotta make sure, right, that I can get over to that access point and get into that driveway. So I hear what you're saying, I respect it, I am not an engineer, I am a nonprofit fundraiser, and so my brain also wants to make sure, like, okay, when I'm thinking about this, and you know, Minnesota summers are short, and Dairy Queen's a really busy place in a smaller Midwestern town in the summer, and we want to make sure that all of those kids and all those new drivers and everybody can access those points. So I am flagging that right here in terms of the Dunkin' and the Dairy Queen driveway discussion, because I do think that that's another point that folks might have some questions on. And then also, I will be quiet, but I just want to say I am grateful for the feedback, I'm grateful for your comments, and for all of you being here, and for taking such an open tone to listening and working with the community to see how we can best figure this out going forward. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Councilmember Verichov. Okay, Brian.
Yeah,
Continue.
good discussion. No, I mean, that's why we're here, is to have the discussion and get more input.
Correct,
And,
right.
and you are correct, as much as I have been here, will continue to be here, I do not live here. So this is where your experience comes in and helps us craft this project. And, you know, to your point, we are trying to balance all those things. We need to improve safety, we need to improve mobility, we also need to look out for the businesses and the residents, how are people accessing their driveways, how are those things? And it's, again, we have done our best as we've gone through, we've been as open as we can with businesses, we have met with many of them individually, we will continue to meet with them, and I think we've done a good job of trying to balance those. So, lastly, to your point about the whole layout, either individually or should we want to do a workshop or something, we'd be very happy to bring, you know, a physical copy, lay it out, and we can just walk through it one by one, if that would be what the council would desire, or any one of you individually. So again, happy to work with you in whatever way is best for you. There's the right turn lane. If, coming back to your question here, yes, southbound right turn lane to the county road, so that will be in there. We did hear that from multiple people, so that was something that definitely needed to get in there. We talked about that a little bit, so I'm going to move to the 316 intersection, planned as a multi-lane roundabout. It will be this multi-lane roundabout. I'll point out on this one of the conversations we had, where'd my cursor, there we go, was this right turn lane from 316 onto northbound 61. It's a free movement today, if you think about that intersection. Originally, our traffic group had said, well, what if we only had one lane in there? What if we didn't have that free right? And can we get by that way? again, trying to minimize as much as we can. If there's less road to take care of, that's better for everybody. But we still need those operations to work. We still need the safety. And so after, again, reviewing, working with our geometric design group, this is the design that we're moving forward. It does keep that free movement in there. It will help with those operations. And that, again, that was something, as we went from the vision to looking at the layout and putting more engineering to it, that was another piece that came up multiple times. We did have a version of this that only showed one lane, and we definitely heard about it from people who said, you can't do that. So double check, triple check, take a look at it, made that change here. Last one for this layout portion, then I'll move into some other topics that I had on the agenda. Cannon Street, we envision this as cutting that connection off, disconnecting it, and then having that traffic flow to either way, either down to 36 or up to the other streets on the north side. This was another one working with some of the businesses in the area, with staff, looking at it. We determined let's leave that right in and right out in that area. So what you're showing on the layout here keeps that connection in there. It prevents those lefts, which are the more dangerous one, but still provides for access to Cannon, cutting off or reducing the amount of traffic that would flow to the other streets, and then having that pedestrian connection across there as well.
What about the streets prior? 23rd, 24th, 25th?
Yeah, I'm not showing them here.
They're on the back side.
There's some, 24th is a change. 25th remains the same.
Most of that section between the 316 roundabout and the 36 roundabout, that is a full depth reconstruction of bituminous, and that is gonna be not concrete like the rest of the project, but it is adding a trail on one side, an 8-foot trail and a 6-foot sidewalk, and it's turning it into an urban section. So curb and gutter through that whole area. And some of the streets,
You were talking north of 316 though.
are you talking north?
North of 316, so say 25th, 24th, they're right in, right outs right now, so, or left, right, you can go whatever you want.
Yeah,
So I'm just
20
curious, so no
20
changes?
24th, we would provide access management on that to reduce those to right in, right out. 25th remains open.
Yes. And that will be shown on the layout.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to move
Excuse me,
on.
Brian.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I had been waiting till the end of the layout stuff for questions, and so we started jumping in the middle. But before we move into a new section, I do have a couple of layout questions. On 10th Street, you commented that you looked at that intersection, sort of the exit from Walgreens, and proposing no changes, no additional northbound right turn lanes. I think is the way you described it. At high traffic times, sort of morning rush hour, there's already queuing on 10th Street waiting to turn onto northbound 61. And I just somewhere saying, hey, we looked at this, it's not a concern. There's already queuing there, so I'm just really surprised to hear that putting more traffic onto 10th Street does not cause a concern.
And that's where eliminating the movements on the opposite side help all the way around.
This has nothing to do with people trying to come from,
But it impacts how the green time is reflected through the 3 legs that remain. And so that's where we can reallocate some of the green time to give them more time to make that right turn if there's no gaps, when there's no gaps, that they can move into that northbound traffic.
gotcha. And then the other question I had is at 47, the decision to retain the skew and understand the single left turn lane, the concern about overlapping truck turning movements. Absolutely understand it's an easier turn for trucks going from 47 northbound onto 60, or onto 61 northbound. It's a less of a curve. That skew currently has bad sight lines. Nearly daily, I see people running that light. The pedestrian crossing, you have pedestrians crossing in between vehicles. The idea of not squaring that up, I cannot see how that's safer. It might be easier for a truck movement, but I can't see how that makes it safer. Just real
Okay.
concerns on that.
You're taking notes too. So, what I'll say at this point is we'll take that back. We'll take another look at that. I will bring up that specific point
Please.
of the sight lines and the ped paths, and I'll have a better answer for you later.
Thank you.
One of the things we did do, Administrator, is we did a look at that with our GDSU folks and our traffic folks and the county, and they were okay with not squaring it up, but we did look at it with our ADA folks and our signal folks, and we are gonna, this is an older layout here. The newer layout has the ped crossing straightened out better. And around this one building here, we're gonna change the sidewalk. None of the green will be there. We're changing the sidewalk right up to the curb, and to give it a better skew for the bike and peds to cross there. So hopefully it'll be a lot better for bike and peds crossing there and with the sidewalk. And hopefully that gives, the stop bar will come up farther, and hopefully with the center median and the stop bar up closer, it'll help with that sight line a little bit, is what they're saying, telling me.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Dan. Councilmember House.
I just wanted to confirm and clarify, so this isn't still the current layout that will be used still, correct?
We're making final tweaks to it, yes.
Okay, do we have a layout of what that section will look like currently that can we visibly see by chance? I'm just a little confused, just because if we're not being given accurate data right now, it's really hard for us to go off of.
Yeah,
on our
I
residence
apologize.
questions.
We had a
No.
meeting on Thursday of last week and a meeting this morning, and I asked them to finalize that and get it to me by the end of this week so we could have it. Do you have the flap? Because even if you look at the walkway up to the bridge, that pink walkway up to the bridge is going to, I'm sorry?
This is from the flap.
The pink walkway up to the bridge is being removed because we're getting rid of the walk across the bridge if we do the pedestrian bridge. So,
Can you
Yeah, so,
repeat that?
yeah, you're getting rid of the pedestrian crossing over the bridge, is that correct?
the pedestrian crossing, we're evaluating that right now. The pedestrian walk, the 6-foot walk going up to the Vermillion Bridge, the current existing bridge now, and pedestrians go across the bridge now, that will be eliminated. If we build the bike and ped bridge that you're showing there, the 12-foot ped bridge across the Vermillion. So we'll force all
It
bike
didn't come
and ped
across that
bridges.
way.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
sorry.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Beck.
Can I just shoot back to 10th Street?
So there is some minor tweaks that we're doing
You're
right
gonna-
now to that, and we're trying to get it out by this week. Sorry.
There's gonna be, because back to the queuing situation, I take that way fairly often. And this is 61, I drive down to Red Wing every single day. This is my daily commute. There's already queuing. I understand the idea that eliminating that traffic coming the other way is going to free up green time. Is there gonna be better, like, green time for that intersection of 61 and 55? Because that's the problem. Because traffic lines up to 10th Street and into 10th Street heading southbound.
And so it's the same concept on 55. So if you,
By eliminating the entrance to
we're
Walgreens right
eliminating that
there.
other one, so now these left turns from 55, or they're going to be free flowing, they're going to go.
But that
we
lane already
have-
didn't have a lot of green time.
We have eliminated the movements coming from Walgreens, so you take any green time associated with them, redistribute it.
I live, if
So-
I were to go to Walgreens or come home from Walgreens to my house or whatever, I would just leave out of that entrance where you're eliminating it, which is gonna be very annoying for me, but that's besides the point. My light maybe lasts until my car goes through.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I would love.
How
for you
much
to-
green time is there really?
So even if you take the minimum amount of time, like call it 7 seconds of green time, there's yellow time, there's all red time that gets, I mean, so you're talking 10 to 15 seconds that could be redistributed on a, call it 120-second cycle length, that's more than 10% that you're redistributing. So it doesn't sound like a big number, but when you're talking about seconds within a 2-minute cycle length.
And then are
it
you also
does.
gonna have Walgreens adjust their back entrance then off of 10th? Because it's pretty small and hard to turn into right now from back there.
That's what we're looking at right now, and we just did a study there. Our traffic engineers did a study. We gave it to Ryan. They're looking at it right now. If there's something that we need to adjust, we will on that 10th Street. We're also looking at that whole new street there on 11th, is it?
Yep.
Is all gonna be new, and we're building it, and then we're gonna hand it back over to the city for that. A slight change to that will be on the new layout. And yeah, if you look at those, I'm not a big traffic engineer, but 4 signal phases are what both of those signals are doing now. You cut those down to 3 signal phases, you guys are gonna notice a difference. And it's gonna move traffic in there a lot better with the
I
3
really
signal
hope so. I
phases.
sat at that 10th Street light the other day for about 6 minutes before it turned green.
That's a long
So,
time.
Yeah,
So they're gonna be brand new signals and new signal phases into 3 signals
okay.
phases, not just 4, so.
And then to be on the bright side, I'm really excited about the extended turn
And
lane
if
on
you're
55.
waiting that long, I'm gonna ask our signal, if you're waiting that long, I'm gonna ask our signal folks to get out there now, because we have 2 years till this project,
Yeah.
and they need to rephase it now.
But yes.
So
I'm
thanks.
not too worried because you confirmed that I'll still be able to get my morning coffee. So thank you for that. It'll just be a little bit more annoying to circle back, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Beck. Councilmember Pemble.
Since you Robert just said that we're talking about the years of this activity, so now I would like to start from scratch one and say, okay, in 2027, we're gonna have some work start. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Do you want to wait until I get
Can we
there? and I
wait till
can go
after
into
the
whole-
presentation?
I'm trying to get to the point, are we talking about 2 years or longer?
Brian's gonna get there, or I can answer it now.
Okay, well then I'll hold off on that one and go back to 10th Street.
Oh, sorry.
My concern is, and I've seen the state, they're doing the drillings by the wall. Are we going to get 6 or 8 feet there to put a new wall in? Or are we gonna have to deal with it in some other way because of the quality of the drilling information?
So we are reconstructing the wall. The current wall needs to be reconstructed.
Absolutely.
We can't save the wall, so we're working with the school district on that. And we are gaining more space. And so a simple way to look at it is the current wall is about a 45-degree angle. If we straighten it up with our typical walls, that alone gets us 3 to 4 feet, and then we're working with the school district to get a couple more. So we have an adequate turn lane, that southbound turn lane, and we have an ADA compliant sidewalk along it. So
I guess
that
my
is
thought was,
part
the
of it.
way they were working at the drillings and looking at the ground samples there, that, because that used to be a dump once upon a time, and when I was on the school board, we dug up 2 weeks' worth of garbage in there to put down decent dirt so we could have a turf field.
And
But
that's,
how close we got to the actual wall comes into question. So that was my question. Is that wall going to stay out to about where it's at now, or is it going to have to come back in farther?
it's gonna come in a couple feet from where it is now. to give
Just a
us all the
couple
room.
feet?
To
The big,
2 or 3 from the toe of the,
do you know where the time clock is?
Yes, I know quite well. where it's
Just
at.
1 or 2 feet from that, that's gonna be the toe of our wall,
Okay.
straight up.
Okay.
Straight up. So we're gonna purchase about 8 to 10 feet of right-of-way from the school. We've already given them an estimate of what we're gonna purchase. So if I get that 8 to 10 feet, build a nice wall, we have renderings of the wall that we're gonna do, and we're working with your Heritage Preservation Committee on that as well in the school. If I can get that, I'm gonna get at least 6 feet of extra room to put a sidewalk in and plenty of room for a turn lane and everything in there.
Yeah, because the sidewalk that exists now is unsafe, period, but the point I'm thinking about when the new road gets put in, eventually, there's a lot of traffic that's gonna make right-hand turns going out 55, and in the dead of winter, we wanna be careful with those people that are on that sidewalk.
I agree with you 100%, and I'm gonna have plenty of room to put a sidewalk, everything, ped ramps in there, and the right turn lane, and the through lanes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Pemble. Councilmember House.
Thank you, Anna. I did want to just kind of go off of what Councilmember Rebecca was saying earlier on 10th Street, and sorry to interrupt him, but I would love for everyone here, if you guys could go to that site, or even go down the whole corridor, because it's really different when we drive it every day for us, like they were saying before, but go to the Walgreens light and sit there. I take the same route, actually. I live on this backside right over here, and every day, it's maybe less than 5 seconds for that light. So I'm really concerned about the green time that you guys are talking about and how that will extend down the corridor. I do want to also just suggest next time we have this amount of information that changes and we don't have accurate layouts, that possibly we make this into a workshop, just so we're better to accommodate some of this, so we're able to actually like blow up the actual layout and stuff like this. Just because for us up here, it's a little confusing because there's not anything for us to see here either, so we're kind of leaning in as far as we can to figure it out, but I appreciate your guys' time on this. I'll have more questions, I'm sure, but just wanted to lay that out.
Thank you.
I think that's a great
Councilmember
idea,
House.
and I know I've driven the corridor at least 10 times. I've walked the corridor 4 times. I'll be walking it again on Friday with our arborists. We're gonna be taking down some of the dead trees this year, and then maybe next council meeting, I'll have the layout for you and we can walk through it.
Or a workshop, as you suggested. All right. Good discussion. Let's get to the next one. Construction staging. So the picture is obviously not Hastings. What I was trying to get, this is a picture in Rochester, just to again emphasize, there's going to be impacts. There is no way around it. There is going to be heavy equipment right next to buildings. We are going to be building through this area. Traffic is going to be narrowed. We know that. So again, just trying to drive home the point that there will be impacts. We do need to reconstruct. We do need to get in there. As we look at our goals for construction, and put some bullet points on there, safety for the workers and the public. So we want both of those groups to get home at the end of the day. They need to be able to, need to still be able to move through. We need our workers to have room to actually do the work, free from that traffic. We're also looking at the quality of construction. We want this to be out there for a long time before we have to come back. So the better we can make it, the better it's going to be for all of us. And then as we look at the business and resident access, we need to maintain that access. We can't close the corridor. We can't close 61 through Hastings and say, hey, we'll be done in a year, come back then. That just doesn't work. So what we had talked about and rejected is more of what I just said, full closure and detour. It's a river crossing. It's the main artery through the city. We can't close 61. We have to maintain traffic. We have to maintain that access. On the opposite side of that extreme is maintaining a 4-lane facility through. We cannot maintain that either. We do not have the room. We do not have the right-of-way. We are not able to maintain that. So what we are left with is that middle ground of 1 lane in each direction, and then turn lanes at some of the intersections. So that is the base of just knowing we're going to go down to 1 lane in each direction. And with that, we will probably look at, for people, well, that's the main thing. We'll have to look at whether there are, do we want to sign an alternative route? Do we want people to go to 55? And that depends on some of the staging and stuff too. But there is some stuff that we are looking at in terms of how we get people around. Do we still keep everybody in that same corridor, one lane in each direction? Do we use alternative routes? What does that look like? So we have a base, but there are still a lot of questions on that. And so one of the questions that we can have more discussion on, what we are currently considering is 3 stages, or constructing this in 3 segments that's shown on the map here. And so the first one, basically going river to river, from the bridge to the bridge, that whole area under construction at once. Then we move to kind of that 47 to 316, and then the south end, 316 to 36. So very clearly, when we say that, that would mean that orange section would have work on it from one end to the other. So think of it, let me go to this slide first. So within each stage, we're likely to have 3 phases. Shut off one side, work on the other, flip it in that phase 2, and then we finish up in the middle, completing the median. So when I go back to this map, that means that orange segment would be at 1, then we go blue, then we go red, kind of that north to south, but we would have activity in there. And that is a point of discussion. That is not settled. That is an initial plan. And what we are trying to balance as we look at that are those goals. How do we maintain worker public safety? How do we get that quality? And how do we balance these things, and particularly looking at the quality and the speed? The more we close, the more work we do at once, it's going to be better for the contractor, which is obviously what they're going to push for, because they can get in, they can do a lot at once. That has potentially more impacts for the business. Particularly start at the north end and they're working, but still some on the south end. I'm envisioning we'll get some calls on that and we'd have to deal with it. Nope, this is what we're doing. Do we stick with something like this? If we break it into more segments, then it becomes, okay, what does that do to the timing? What does that look like? So this is a point of discussion and more of a base. Yes, ma'am.
I want to answer Councilmember's House before you move on, because it could be a very important question.
Thank you. I'm just trying to limit us going back and forth on slides from, so I am a little confused how we're going to do one roundabout in 2 segments. Could you speak on that? Because the roundabout is at 316 and 61, and that's at 2 sections. And I'm just a little confused at how you do that in 2 segments.
It would likely be part of segment 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're not going to do half the intersection.
I was just a little confused.
So,
I was a little confused on that. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember House. Councilmember Beck.
Segment 1, the slide you just flipped to would show like the phases of it. Hypothetically, so that's shutting down traffic coming off of the bridge heading southbound.
No, that's crossing over. So at some point, either north of the
there's
bridge,
one
we would have to cross traffic over to one side, which is why we can't maintain 4 lanes. So
Yeah.
picture, you've got your 2 lanes of traffic, but now it's 1 in each direction
Okay.
on one side while we're working on the other.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Beck. Okay, Bryant.
Okay, so again, this is our initial base as we're looking at this. We're still in conversations with our contractor, how they envision building this. Again, keeping in mind that they're going to push for close down as much as possible because this is what we want to do, versus having that input from you, having the input from the businesses, having the input from the public, working with our own MnDOT and city staff and determining what do we think is the best way to build this. So again, that's a key point that we're going to be looking for more input and gathering more input from people as we continue. This slide again just went through basically working on one side, traffic on the other, then flipping. All right, so this is the one, Councilmember Pemble, that we wanted to get to on construction timing. So yes, there have been some changes here. When we originally went through the vision study and started talking about this, it was a 27 project. We thought we were going to get in there. Then as we learned more about it, we went to, okay, we'll do some early work packages in 27. primarily get all the work, most of the work done in '28. As we have continued to work on this and work with the contractor, and as we have made design decisions, this is where we are looking at it and going, this is this is 2 years. How long that 2 years is has yet to be determined, and that's going to get back to some of our staging decisions. So when I go through this current, on the bullet points there, we're looking at January 28 for our official letting date to the big one. That just means when we're bringing a contractor on board, we're awarding the project to someone. Robert mentioned our maintenance staff is going to be out there working on some of the trees later this year. There is still the potential for an early work package. Maybe the retaining wall, try to get that work done. When we look at that 27, again, probably maybe some activity there, but it's not going to be like corridor wide. It would be very specific to a specific item. Working in between 10th and 55 on the retaining wall. Maybe we work on the county road. Again, very specific if we do work in 27. The primary project that we're looking at is going to be that 28 with completion in 29. Within that, that's where that staging conversation is going to be important, and I unfortunately do not have time frames for some of this stuff right now. Some of that's going to be as we continue to develop the base. We know we're going to be working through 28. We'll have a winter suspension that we should be able to open things back up again, get traffic somewhat back to normal. We like to do that on the highways, particularly with snowfall. We want to make sure we have room, not have people moving through, and then we get back in 29, but does that 29, does that mean we're working for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, the whole, what does that mean? That's where that staging comes in and working with the contractor. The second part, or that last bullet there, is the landscaping. That would come in after the main project is done. We want to make sure the contractor gets all the road work done, gets, everything is done there, and then we come in and make sure that landscaping gets done. So that could be fall 29 or that could be spring 2030. So that is where we're at right now, knowing that we need to get more specifics to you in terms of how long this construction is going to last. And right there, I'll open up.
On a typical year, when do you usually shut down in the winter? I mean, do you say October, or do you think, do you
We
just
usually
wait to
try to go
see
to the end of October.
the end of October?
Pending the weather, we have had some that have gone well into November.
Okay, that was my question. If we get a mild winter,
Yeah, if
you
it's,
just keep,
if the weather is good and they can keep working, we will. Noting, however, that, we don't want to start something either. Like, let's say we get, if we think back to that map, let's say we get that segment 1 done. I don't know that we would want to start segment 2 in October. It would be, okay, we've got this one
Yep,
done,
yep.
let's open things back up. We'll plan to start again in April.
well, I think we all appreciate the clarity, just because, I mean, it's always been a one-year project, now it's 2.
This is a big
This is really
change.
going to be an impact on our businesses, and we want to help them be as successful as possible and get the word out. And I know many of them are already on board, and they're seeing the projects through the chamber and that area too, but
The other thing,
it's going to be a lot.
it is, the other thing I can mention, please correct me if I misstate this, but, as we think about this and we think about these segments here, or however, if we end up with 3 or if we end up with 4, whatever that might be, once we complete a segment, like, we're done with that. So if we stick with these, and again, I'm just throwing this out, if we stick with these and we have these segments, let's say we start on segment 1, we get that done in 28, we're done. It's not like we're going to close that back down in 29. 29 would then move south and it would be the next one. So there is a little bit of that time of, just because we say it's 2 years, it doesn't mean the whole corridor is under construction. It's which parts of the corridor are under construction in which year.
Sure. Thank you. Councilmember Pemble.
Now, when this work starts and you were looking at the major amount of work going from 316, 61 to the bridge, and are we having one crew at this or several crews? Have you reviewed the 74, 75, 76 project and how they worked that?
Yep, and one of the things that we had a meeting this morning with our construction crew, and the uniqueness on this with the CMGC, and we've already brought on the construction crew with Schaefer Hoffman, is they're at the table with us. They're telling us how they can build this. They're saying, we can work this 6 days a week if you'd like. We can work nights if you'd like. We don't want there to be a safety concern, but we can work 6 days a week. We've got the city on board with us. We've got the visual quality. We've got everyone on board with us saying, hey, we want to make sure that there's a minimal impact to the businesses and the people of Hastings while we're building this. But we want to get it done, and we want to build it right. So this first segment, the orange segment, we call segment 1 in 3 phases. Maybe we can do some early work packages, even though it's getting let in January 28, we can try to get an early work package done. You asked if we can do some work packages or work in the winter. We can. We can build that retaining wall in the winter. We can build that bike ped bridge in the winter. We can build maybe a roundabout in the winter. Some things we can try to do in the winter. We can do some utility work in the winter. So there might be some things. He just sent me an email today that I've got to regurgitate and try to look at here. Robert, what if we do this in 4 phases and I can get this done quickly and a minimal impact to the public? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm like, hey, this is gonna hurt the city of Hastings if we move to a 2-year construction. How do we mitigate that risk and that hurt to them? So that's our main risk now, because we always thought it was gonna be 1 year if we could do early work packages. Now we might not even be able to do early work packages. Why? Because there's a huge right-of-way risk here, a huge right-of-way lift here. There's so many, we've got 180 right-of-way parcels that we're trying to go after and purchase right-of-way. That takes time. That's condemnation. That's time. It takes 18 months to 2 years. So we're trying to get after that right-of-way and trying to get it fast. So we're going after those 3 parcels at the 316 roundabout first, so we can start working there and demolition those houses there. We're trying to go after the parcels at the school first. So we're trying to do it in segments so we can start working. We might be able to do early work packages for those crossovers, so we can get those crossovers built in 27 in preparation for these phases. We're trying to get the retaining wall. So we're trying to look at this, what we can do early in 27, then get the bulk of the work done in 28, and then finish up in 29. So now it's just looking like, hey, we've just got to do this in 2 years. How can we mitigate it and get it down to a 1.5 years, get some early work packages, whatever. And he just gave me a good plan of what to do to mitigate that risk to the folks here in 2 years. So some of that we're still trying to look at early work packages to try to mitigate that risk and the timing. Our schedule just got blown up. I know Met Council wants to do the utilities here. Not only do you guys have a huge, $4 million utility lift that you're trying to do, and we're putting it in our project, but Met Council now wants $5 million worth of deep line sewer to put in here. And we want to put it in this project because we don't want you coming back and having Met Council in 5 years digging up Highway 61 that we just put in brand new. So we're trying to get that in this project. That's a deep dig and a lot of work to do. So that hurts our project, or our schedule, sorry. So that schedule is just blowing up right now. So this is what we're facing, and we're trying to get the
So
best.
to your point, one of the things that we could look at is, again, for conversation, do we allow overnight work? Do we want to do that? Do we look at 6-day? Do we look at 7-day? You know, there are trade-offs with that as we
Is
look
this a
at.
possibility instead of overnight work, 2-shift work?
Yes, and Schaefer Hoffman is looking at that. They might have sub-crews that can do the bridge, that can do the retaining wall, that can do other things. So that's possibility, shift work.
Okay, and the last question to this is, if it started on the southbound lane, or the northbound lane, it's straight through until the switchover. There's none of this like there was 50 years ago where they did a chunk and then the road was going in the westbound lane or the southbound lane, and you'd go a few blocks, and then you were going in the northbound lane.
Yep, we figured out we have to start on the northbound lane because that's where all the utilities are.
Right,
And some of
but
the
I mean,
sewer
there's
lines,
no
we gotta keep
changing
your sewer
over
flowing.
through
Yeah,
town.
So,
That's why we're doing northbound first.
so yes, so between these two slides, let's focus on the orange one. If we do the orange one, or whatever segment that happens to be, we'd have a crossover at one end to get traffic on the correct
Started.
side. It would stay there, and then a crossover back at the end.
Thank you.
So no, we do not want.
Because that was the
weaving in
mistake
between.
that happened in the last time, that they kept swapping back and forth depending on which crew got farther ahead.
So it could change, but the crossover could be right at the bridge, the Hastings Bridge and the Vermilion River Bridge.
Yep.
Finish that section, keep the crossover at the Vermilion Bridge, and then do the other one at the 316. The good thing, the red section between, that's the bituminous reconstruct, that can be detoured. We could
Yep.
possibly do a detour around that, and that could be done really quick, full depth reconstruction bituminous with no traffic on it, because we can do a detour there. Where the rest of it's full depth reconstruction and concrete, that we have to do traffic, one side or the other.
Thank
So
you.
that's what we're looking
Thank you,
at.
Councilmember Pemble. Councilmember Lightfoot.
I appreciate all the talk about businesses, right, moving people up and down 61. I want to make sure that we are keeping some focus on the neighborhoods as well, for the people that will be cutting through, right? There are going to be people who are going to know how to leave 61, they're going to be going through neighborhoods. So just kind of that, what do we have in place, and is that more on our, is that more us with our public works? Does the MnDOT help with that, as far as like those portable speed signs, whatever we're looking at?
That-
But, I myself live on Pine, which is a corridor road, right? That's going to be, we're gonna see more traffic on Pine and Pleasant and General Sieben going north-south. So just making sure that that's something, we're having a lot of great conversations about business impact and moving traffic on 61. But for those of us that are gonna, people that
Yeah.
are gonna cut through.
Yep,
Just making sure that there's a
And that'll
focus
be at
there.
our public open house, and we'll be having probably 3 of those this year. We've already had a business liaison open house, and we'll have another one of those, and then of course here.
So, yes, we have done other projects where we have added in, like you said, the speed signs. We had one where we talked about putting, this was an extreme case, but putting a diagonal diverter and not allowing people to go through on a local one. I don't know that that's what we want to do here, but those are things we can talk about and add them in because, again, we're looking at those impacts too. We don't want everybody just to flee one block over and then now, to your point, all the residents are going, I can't leave my driveway.
Well, and just for the residents who are listening or who will hear later about this conversation, that's a focus as well, right? We want to make
Correct.
sure
Oh,
we're keeping,
absolutely.
yeah, we're keeping our neighborhood streets safe as well. So thanks for that clarification, and we can make sure we're getting that out to our community.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilmember Lightfoot. Okay. We're good? Oh, is there a light? Did you, okay. Nope, we're
Okay.
good.
All right, so we talked about the timing. All right, funding. So current construction estimate right around 41 million. Our current funding through MnDOT funding and some funding applications that the city has granted, Transportation Economic Development, Regional Solicitation. We're up to 21.7, almost 22 million. We have several grants that are still out that we have worked with the city to help your staff apply for those. The build grant, 19 million, that was supposed to be announced on the 28th. I had really high hopes that I was going to come here and provide some really good news. I have no idea when they're going to announce that one, so.
So it's not that we're not out, it's just, it's not
We're not
announced
out,
yet.
it's just they haven't announced
Okay.
any award winners yet. So that's exactly what we're doing,
Okay.
keeping our fingers
Keeping my
crossed.
fingers crossed.
Safe Streets for All, there's an $8 million grant to help us there. Local Partnership Program, that one is through MnDOT. That's under review right now. That'll be about a month or two before that one is announced. And the latest one we just put in is a infra federal grant for, again, $19 million. So still continuing to try to close that gap, go after additional funding, and provide more to the pot. So as I look at that last bullet, options if not fully funded. So what we are doing right now is proceeding with the design. We are proceeding with everything we're doing as if we are going to get there. Somehow we're going to get there. Some combination, federal, state, as we look at the cost share and what the city is providing, I'm still optimistic we're going to get there. However, should we fall short, that is where we're going to have to look at that scope. And so one of the options that is a good possibility, we have another project coming up on 61 south of the city that's going to redo that. There's some changes there. We could take the south end of the project from 316 to 36, take that, plug that into the other project, and fund it that way. So that south end would get funded as part of that project. We could scale back the scope. The pedestrian bridge is one, can we leave that in or not? Another option we have on here as we look at the signals, do we provide fully new one or do we try to salvage some of that equipment, some of the traffic head mast arms? So we haven't gone down the road to fully understand if we get stuck at the, say, 22 million, what does that mean? We're still doing the project. We're still going to do a project. We just need to put some work into, with that delta, if we don't get more, what does that mean? And so that's where, I provided some examples of some easy moves that would get us some of it, but we're still working on the rest of it. So that's the not great part of where we're at.
So do you have a deadline in your head when you have to have all this dollars in line before you actually make a decision of doing it or not?
So it's going to come over the summer.
Next summer?
So this summer, sometime
summer?
as we approach the 60% in the fall, I think we're going to have to make some decisions. So that is where, this is a preview of where we're at. We're waiting on some of these funding announcements. We're waiting as MnDOT looks at its program as well. Is there ways for us to shift more over here? We will see, but I think over the next, call it 3 to 4 or 5 months here, we're at least going to have to look more realistically at it and present to you, like, here's where we're at, here's what we do if we don't have that funding.
So Brian, the two specifics you just said, the Ped Bridge and the
South
extension,
End?
yes. Does that amount to $20 million?
No, unfortunately, no.
Well, I'm just trying to wrap our heads around
Yep.
what $20 million is
So
in
the
a project
south
like
end,
this.
what's that?
In a project like this.
So looking at that south end, let's go, not the 316 roundabout, but from the roundabout and then the 36 roundabout, that's probably in that $4 or $5 million range. The Ped Bridge is probably $1 million-ish in that range. 2? Thank you. So a couple million on the Ped Bridge. If we salvage some of the signals, now we're talking another couple million in there. So we're, so for those 3 elements, that's probably half the gap, maybe a little bit more. And so then that's where we get into, okay, well, what's next? What does that mean and what are the options for that? And that's where we haven't fully gone down that road, as we've, again, been optimistic we're going to get more funding. That's why we're applying for these things, but now we're to the point that we have to realistically start looking at that. So at a minimum, I can come back and present that to you and say, here's where we're at. If we get this or this or this, depending on when these come out, here's what the full project looks like. here's the option we're looking at with our funding, and what that means for if there are elements we don't provide. So if we don't have the ped bridge, can we get that later? How do we set it up so we can put that in later? So that's the other part of this too is, you know, if we can't do everything, when can we do the rest of it?
Okay, thank you. Councilmember House.
Thank you. I have many questions, but I'll start off with, what is the city's portion on this?
City's portion, do you have the city's share?
We're gonna determine that this month. We're looking at the cooperative agreements right now. But as it sits with the city's portion, they pay for the utilities, they pay for anything above what MnDOT standard doesn't pay, like for specialty lighting or aesthetics. And anything above and beyond what, like I said, what MnDOT doesn't. And with the new cost participation policy for a city of this size, the minimum payment is $276,000.
Thank you. I guess the next question is was there more funding at one point? I'm just a little confused how we have half a budget right now for this project, but yet we're still moving forward with it. I understand that.
And so that's
Just a little confused as to where
yeah.
this discrepancy lies, just because it's a pretty large amount of money to be down. I know we're on the same with PFAS, right? Like, but still, just kind of curious.
So, for where we started when we originally programmed this, it was not a full reconstruct. And so the budget that MnDOT put towards it was for more of a mill and overlay and some spot improvements. So that was the budget that MnDOT started with. We went through the vision project. We got all these recommendations. That's where we worked with the city on a couple applications and got more funding with those two in there, and where we continue to go from that other one. So that's why there's the discrepancy, because when this was originally programmed, it was not the reconstruction.
So is there a way to do it the other way or not anymore? I wanted, no.
By other way, you mean?
Well, I'm just a little confused as to how, let me rethink that question, sorry, on that part. I'm just a little confused as to how it got to that amount from just going from mill and overlay. But again, it hasn't been done since 77, so I'm just confused as to how we thought it was only going to be mill and overlay, I guess, then, is my, been a long time, so. That's,
It has, but that is where our materials group comes in, and it's not unusual for us to do improvements like this. We don't do reconstruct everywhere. We don't have enough money to do
Right.
reconstruct everywhere. So the mill and overlay, as it was programmed, is to prepare the road and keep it going, and then we would likely have come back in 10 to 15 years to do another one to make sure the pavement stays good. So through the vision study, through working with the city, was an opportunity where, like, we know you need to do your utilities, so if we need to dig down and do those, it's a good time to do a full reconstruct on it. So it's a combination of there was an
I figured.
opportunity to
It was
do
a little
this,
bit, I was just like,
and- yeah.
no, I appreciate that. It helps just to get a little bit of better understanding. So the other question I had was, I understood that Met Council wanted the deep sewer, I think you were saying, redone. Is that on the city for those utilities as well, or would that be?
It is on the city for
Thank
those
you.
utilities, but it is reimbursed by Met Council. on those.
Thank you, that's what I want. Thank you for that.
Yes.
That's the key.
Thank you, Councilmember House. Councilmember Verichov.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is this pretty standard, guys, in terms of how you go about funding a project, or is this because
More
of?
often than I'd like to admit.
Okay.
We have gaps on other projects that we are looking at. We are, I will phrase it as we are looking at doing things a little differently to try to avoid this situation in the future. But with the way things have come up and with how we have operated in the past and stuff, this is, again, unfortunately happens on more projects.
I completely understand. I was just trying to get a sense of, it makes me a little nervous to see so many federal eggs in one basket, but, okay, I get it. Thank
Thank you, Councilmember Verichoff. Dan, would you like to?
Yeah, just a different take on the cost share question. Understanding, greatly appreciate the new MnDOT policy. Saves a lot of money on the city, and you still have to figure out how to fund the project without the city's help. But do any of these grants, regional solicitation, build safe streets for all, whether we get them or not, but if we do get them, does that change any of the cost share discussion? Do any of those have a local cost share above what the MnDOT policy is?
So as we, I'll be positive, as we get these grants and money comes in, the idea is it lowers the cost for everybody. So again, on some of these, the city is the lead applicant. We would help with that facilitation, but the thought is we're just looking to lower the cost. We're not going to say, oh, all this goes to MnDOT first or however it is. It's just, nope, let's get the money in, let's lower the cost, let's see where we're at, and then how that works. So my thought is, as we have these, I'm hoping not to come back here and say, no, city, you still need to provide up to this maximum, or whatever it is. It's more, here's where the funding has come in, it has lowered your cost, it has lowered our cost, here's where we stand. Does that answer it?
I appreciate that. I guess it was more, absolutely not an expert by any means on, or complete, don't know these grants, but hypothetically, simple math, if a $10 million grant had some requirements in that grant for a 10% local obligation.
Oh, I see.
Is the city suddenly seeing our number go from 276,000 minimum to $1 million because the grant has a local requirement on it?
And so that gets a little complicated, unfortunately, depending on which grant it is. But on some of those, the state funds that we have applied can be used for that match. And so that's where we would be looking to, as we look at that mix of what's federal, what's state, what's local, again, my goal would be we are trying to make that match and not put it all on the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. So Brian, if it does become a two-year project, if it does become, is there any benefit for funding for 2 years opposed to one? I mean, is there any additional dollars we can go after if it's broken down into 2 years? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like, essentially, does it give us more time
Yeah.
to go, if
To find-
construction happens in 29, do we have all of 28 to find more money? And unfortunately, no. So the way these projects typically work, you need to get the funding when you're
Fully
left.
fund
You
before
have
they
to
start.
encumber all
Sure.
the funds and make sure, particularly for the state, like we can't hire a contractor and say, we think we're going to pay you. We need to have those funds allocated and ready to go.
So if the Petty Bridge is taken out, could that be funded futuristically in a different?
If it's not part of the project, we still have
Still
the
can-
design plans, so then what I would call it is it becomes a shelf project, where
Okay.
now we are ready to go.
Okay,
So we could then apply specifically for that one and say, yes, let's,
and those would be different types of
and
grants?
those would be different types, and it would become its own separate project.
Got it. Okay. Okay, yes, oh, Councilmember House?
Thank you. I'm sorry, I had a couple other questions I thought of. With the project not being fully funded, and say we have to scale back a scope, what are other things other than the pedestrian bridge and salvaging signals? Just because it doesn't seem like, from what you were saying, that would add up to the full cost. Are there other
About
things?
Half.
Half,
yeah,
okay.
A little more than half.
Okay,
There, yes. What those things are, that's where I want to go back with the team, because again, if we need to if we need to do that, there will be options, and I want to come and present those and
I was
say-
just going to ask for that as
Yeah,
well, once we
'cause
have
Because
the,
there are going to be
budget
different
more.
options of how we do that, and that's where I would want to come forward and say, okay, here's where we sit in the gap, and here's, this covers it, or this covers it, or this covers it. So
perfect. And do you guys have a timeline of when you'll find out more about the budget and all of these to come back to us around, like, what time frame that would be?
That's where, again,
Okay.
from the earlier one, I'm thinking in the next 3 or 4 months, we're gonna have to have more realistic conversation to at least have those options and say, here's what we're looking at.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember House.
Those are great questions. I'm noodling all of those. I've got concepts, but I want to wait until after 60%. So November, December, then we'll bring some back to you. Because I hope I don't have to go down that road.
Okay, appreciate it. Anything else from MnDOT's team? Oh, you do?
I do.
Okay. Move on.
I'm almost there, a couple more
You're good.
slides.
No.
So other items for discussion, public utilities, obviously we're coordinating with the city on that. One of the things that the city is working on is getting those right of entries from all the businesses, so we can take all the services we need right to the property line. Obviously, we're not going to go into private property unless we have some of that stuff, so just a note on that. Landscaping, we talked about, some of that would come after it. Aesthetics, kind of dovetails with landscaping there, but we do have a visual quality team. There is an advisory committee that has been formed. They met once last month, and they have a series of meetings coming up, and they'll be looking at that, and that'll be more information that'll come forward to the council. And some of the elements there will be, we'll be able to talk about, okay, here's where the MnDOT base is, and if you want to do more, we're paying for this chunk. If you pay a little bit more, you can get this. So some of those conversations are yet to come. And that mixes right in with the lighting too. We will have the continuous lighting along the corridor. That's part of what MnDOT is doing. If you wanted to do some aspect of pedestrian lighting in addition to that, then that would be something we could add in, but that would be a city cost for that. So just again, other elements that are coming, more information, more decision points for the council to look at later. And just engagement, as we continue to do this, we do have the July 14th meeting. Aspects of this will be a part of that. We'll have boards and layouts there for the public and the businesses that we've invited to talk about this. Something I teed up earlier, our business liaison. So James from Goff Public, he is under contract now. We've been meeting with him and with the city as we talk about his plan for going out, meeting with the businesses, meeting with the public, and being our point person. And so we do have a dedicated phone line. We do have a dedicated email for this. He is on board through our design, and assuming he does a good job, our intention is to continue and bring him in another contract through construction. So that is something we definitely know is important to keep going. And then we have engagement events, pop-ups. We're looking at different options and trying to be proactive, get more information out there. Another public meeting in the fall, working with the council on an open for business group, which is more than just the chamber. It's for any businesses, but we're coordinating with them and how can we get materials? How can we help them to somewhat help themselves? And then municipal consent, I have another slide that will talk about some of that a little bit. So questions on this?
Councilmember Verchak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you talk to me briefly, Brian, just about what that relationship looks like with Goff Public in terms of their authority or their ability to help problem solve on the fly, or, right? It's wonderful to, first of all, sorry, let me take a step back. I commend all of this. I've come to a lot of the meetings that you've had prior. I think that you guys are doing a fantastic job at really working to engage your community around this. That being said, we've all worked as a council, as neighbors, as, right, to really get our community built up along Highway 61, and we don't want any of these businesses to suffer needlessly, and certainly not to even think about what could possibly happen if it were. Anyway, it's wonderful to have an email and a phone number and these different ways that people can connect, but if there's not somebody that is in charge, able to make those decisions, is responding, you know, whether it's, do you see what I'm saying? Is there some kind of guidelines, or how is this gonna go about? So if I'm a business owner and I'm really concerned about something that I saw that day, and I'm talking to my other neighbor business owner, like, and I've left a message like, how is something like this gonna work? Do we think that James will come out and like meet with us quickly? Is this something where they're quarterly check-ins, or what is your sense of that? And I know that we have to kind of, this is a little bit of fortune telling, but
Yep,
what do you envision?
We've hired Goff, and James is our main business liaison contact with them, so he'll be the liaison to contact with anyone. And then Jenny Hines works for MnDOT. She's our main public engagement. I think you've met her. And then Ryan just hired, the city just hired a public engagement, Isabel. So she's on our staff as well, and myself. So those 4 people, any question goes into James, he gets a consensus from us 4.
Okay.
So he's got MnDOT's, the PM, and the city's coordination first before he makes a decision. Then he gets back to them right away.
Okay.
And makes a decision. And then one of us will meet them in person if need be, or a Teams meeting, or a phone call. But we'll get back to them right away on things.
I love that. I love hearing that. And I believe you, Robert. You
Yep.
are sincere with this stuff.
Yep,
I think
I
that
met
you
with-
are going to get back to them
I
right
met
away.
with 2 landowners before I came to this meeting, and I've got 2 more to meet with, and I'll be out here Friday meeting with a couple more. So,
Okay.
yep.
And I'll
Can you
just,
go
Thank
back?
you.
I'll
That's
just,
helpful.
I was just gonna add on, one of the reasons we brought in James is so that he could be, I have other things that I'm doing, unfortunately, I can't focus solely on Hastings. As Ryan likes to say, it is my favorite city, so he's happy to have me here. Same thing for Robert, we do have other things going on at MnDOT, so one of the reasons we brought them on is to help with that response. And so they're not sending an email or giving a call and it's days before they get a response. It is, nope, okay, James has got it. Even if he's calling back and saying, I got it, I'm meeting with these people and I will respond to you tomorrow or whatever that is. So he will definitely help out with our response time and make sure that when issues come up, we are addressing them as quickly as possible.
Not only is it a good thing, but a project of this size, by state statute, we have to have a business liaison coordinator.
Wonderful.
This one?
Perfect. Thank you,
Yeah.
Councilmember Virchow.
So the landscaping, remember, we've got, we're taking down a lot of trees, the corridor, especially during construction, but we also, I know it's minor, but we just got a nice little contract for $150,000. We're gonna be going out and taking down all the dead and distressed trees that you see along the corridor later this summer and early this fall. That could potentially fall on any pedestrians that are walking along on the sidewalk. So a lot of these dead trees, we're gonna be walking along the corridor this Friday and marking them, and so you'll see some tree trimmers, and they're working alongside the city's crew as well. It's gonna help out, so that's great. So our forester, your forester, we're gonna be out here Friday looking at them, and so that's good. Little get out here early and do some work and save us some money. And then we'll be coming in on our landscaping project and planting some trees along the corridor that will sustain and be able to live in that 6-foot corridor the best that we can. And I know we worked with the city of South St. Paul. They had some wonderful success on some trees that will live in these boulevards. So I think we've got some good leeway on some of that stuff that we'll be planting back here, so.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember House?
Thank you, Honor. I did have a quick question about, you said that, were the residents aware of which trees are going to be removed yet on the corridor, or not yet?
If it's in our right of way and they're dead, they're getting removed.
Okay. They have not been made aware, though, correct? Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilmember House. Ryan?
Okay, this slide, I wanted to talk a little bit more about municipal consent. And so by statute, MnDOT needs to come in. We need to ask, essentially, we need to ask the city for approval to do the project. Anytime we are altering access, which we are doing, increase, reduces traffic capacity, that is typically like a lane add. If you're going from 2 to 4 lanes, something like that, we're not doing that on this one. Or requires acquisition of permanent right-of-way. In that case, we are here as we are looking at the roundabout at 316 and some other little areas, 18th. So we're hitting 2 of those where we require municipal consent. So what that means is that we have to formally send you a letter that details, here is the layout, here is what we are building, here is the cost of the project, as we know now. Here is the city's share of the project, as we know, and put all that information in front of you for review. And then, as we go down the steps, we request that approval, providing that information. You schedule a public hearing that would allow the public to come in and talk. A resolution is then needed afterward to either approve or disapprove. If you disapprove, then we would come, we'd have to see what issues are there. They do need to be project issues. So if there is an issue on 55 that you want to talk about, I'm happy to talk about that separately. That should not be a reason for disapproval of the 61 corridor. But then we can figure out, can we meet any conditions that you would have on it? There is an appeal process where MnDOT selects a representative, the city would select a representative, and then there's a third one that we both agree on, and they hear it, and then they issue a statement from there. Or we change the project in some way that we no longer need municipal consent. I'm not quite sure how we would do that if we can't get, if we can't somehow come to agreement on that. And then if the final plan alters from what we give you, so again, we've talked about different changes in that. If something substantial, if something happens, we need more right-of-way over here, or again, the access changes something, we need to come back again. I don't think if that were to happen, I don't know that we need the public hearing again. I think it's coming back to the council and saying, here's what's changed. Can we still proceed with the project? But there is that mechanism afterward, even after we get that approval. So we don't just take your approval and then go off and change everything and say, oh, nope, this is what we're doing now. So this is something that will be coming forward. Again, it'll be later in the process. We're trying to get through some of these steps now. We can't ask for your approval right now because we haven't given you enough information on the cost, what your share is, how we're actually going to build it. As we have talked about tonight, there are a lot of questions we need to answer. So we need to get those. We need to have more answers for that, more information for you before we can make that formal approval. So potentially a late summer, fall, as we have moved on. That's kind of what we're eyeing right now, to make that formal request and set that in motion for you to have that public hearing and then a resolution afterward.
Great.
Any
Any other
questions on
Councilmember
that?
House?
I promise, this is my last question, I really promise.
It doesn't have to be.
It totally is. So, the meeting next Tuesday.
Yes.
Will this information be changed by the time we go to that meeting on Tuesday?
Which information?
Any of it?
All of it.
As in the layout of the plans, will that be changed by any means? Or are you going to present the same presentation here tonight at that meeting? Or will it be different?
We will present the latest information.
Yep, and the layout will be the latest information and finalized, hopefully. I've asked for that to be finalized by the end of this week. We hope to get this municipal consent stuff finalized by the end of this month and maybe for your review early next month.
And just
A little bit quicker
to
than I thought.
reiterate, next Tuesday's meeting is 4:30 to 6:30, 5:30 presentation,
Yes.
correct? It
No,
is
it's
at the
at-
senior high school
Yes.
in the lecture hall, which is on the main floor, if you will, second floor. Next to the
Correct.
gym. There you go.
Correct.
And I'll say it again later in my announcements as well.
4:30 to 6:30,
Yes.
next Tuesday at the high school.
Yes. Presentation 5:30.
Presentation at 5:30.
Yes,
And this is for community,
yes,
it's for anybody.
Anybody who
anybody.
wants to
That's right.
show
for
up.
anybody.
Well, we're
We'll
gonna
have
fill the
present,
room.
we'll have presentation boards,
Yep,
we'll have a presentation, we'll have the layout,
it'll be great.
we'll have a lot of folks there to answer anyone's questions.
It's gonna be great. Thank you.
You'll have the three of us there again as well.
Okay, Councilmember Beck.
So, Robert, you mentioned timeline of hopefully having this municipal consent by end of this month or end of summer.
I'm hoping to have a draft end of this month and get you guys a draft by the end of next month so you can look at it and then present it to the council.
But what does our municipal consent, like, that doesn't speed up any process? You're still not gonna start any construction until
No.
28?
No.
So why do you need it that far in advance?
We technically need municipal consent around the 60% plans, so I need to start getting it around September. There's a process that MnDOT goes through to acquire right-of-way to get municipal consent before the 60%, before I do cooperative agreements. There's a process, and I just have to follow the process.
That makes sense, thank you.
So if I get it around September, great.
Thank you, Councilmember Beck. Dan?
Just troubleshooting on the fly. There's 32,000 vehicles a day, 36,000 vehicles a day that cross this road. They're not all going to fit in a lecture hall at the school next Tuesday. So if we got lines out the door, follow-up meeting, recording of the meeting, stuff posted online, and just trying to
Yep.
answer some questions for people that are worried that
Yep.
they've only got a 2-hour window to know what's going on.
Yep, we're gonna have it recorded. We're gonna have the news medias and outlets there. We had the first business meeting at the hotel. It was fairly packed. The second one was at your golf course. It was packed. We had the first open house here, it was packed. And now we're gonna have the next one at the school. We hope to fill it. And if we have the third one, we need to find a bigger space maybe.
That room is not that big. I'm
Uh,
sorry.
I think online, they had it wrong. They're having it at a larger room. I'll double check and make sure Ryan gets the info for you
Is it-
guys.
The auditorium is right next door.
I think it's the
Right,
auditorium.
it's right across the hall.
They talked about it today.
Yeah, good.
I was in 8 meetings today. I'm sorry if I missed that.
Don't be sorry.
But I will
Yep.
double check, get that info to Ryan.
No worries.
But that, someone said that, oh, this room is too small. Oh, no, it's misprint. We're going to the bigger room.
Oh, good. Okay.
We just wanted to make sure it had audio visual in it.
Oh, it does.
Okay.
I hope we have that problem, because that means more people are interested, we're getting more input.
Well, we're gonna get it out there. We're gonna get the word out there.
Yeah.
But yes, we want to provide as much information online so people don't have to show up just at this. And there are other ways
Sure.
to get the information. And then similarly, if they have specific questions, we have a hotline, we have an email dedicated, we have people absolutely ready to follow up and make sure that we can talk to them about whatever they want to talk about for the project.
Appreciate it.
If it's
We
a
want to be
problem-
as transparent as possible to our whole
Absolutely.
community.
Transparency is a big thing with me,
Yes.
and if it's a problem, we'll have a second night. We'll do it
Okay.
again.
Perfect. Any other questions, council? No motions tonight, so it's just a discussion. Thank you all for being here. We look forward to continuing our work, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dairy Queen tonight, for sure.
All right, under administration, we will, as always, have a PFAS update at our first meeting of the month, which it is. Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, with this being on a monthly basis, some of the information feels like it's old and out of date, but still worth repeating and catching up. At the end of May, 1st of June, We had Northland update and review our water rate projections based off of getting full funding for the Eastern Water Treatment Plant. That had some very positive impacts on what we were looking at for rates. And then in June, just a couple weeks ago, Council decided we are not raising water rates again in 2026. We will see as we work through the budget this summer what 27 looks like, potentially again sort of phasing it in over a couple of steps, but we're not done with the project. We're also not done looking for additional funding for it. Other big change that came just a week, maybe a couple weeks ago, an additional meeting with C's Church where for the past year and a half we had been potentially looking at siting for the Western Treatment Plant. C's is at this point not interested in working with us on a site. They have questions about future school and where that might be laid out, and sort of having that question of what the layout would mean is they're not comfortable freeing up some excess land at this time. Perfectly understandable. We are looking at a couple of other sites a little bit further down the road that still meet the pressure zone and utility needs for it. So still interested in keeping the treatment plants out of residential neighborhoods. So more to come there. Other pieces are more progress continues. Construction on the central treatment plant, interior block and exterior tip-up walls are started or up. In the next couple of weeks, they should be putting the roof on. So it certainly looks different now that you're seeing the walls go up rather than the underground work. And then the other piece, Eastern Treatment Plant is out for bids. Anticipate opening bids, I believe, on the 23rd, so a couple of weeks, and construction on that one would start late this summer, figure around September. So with that, I can take any questions on the PFAS updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Council, any questions? Okay. Then, also, Dan, you may continue with the introduction of our strategic plan. Council, if you remember, we worked on this a few months ago, and it'll be exciting to see
Give me a
the
second here.
accomplishments.
Even though try to keep things to 8 slides or less, sometimes it is helpful to have a little bit of visual and put things up there rather than just talk about it. As you noted, we had a retreat back in April, also a council workshop in April, several management team discussions. But we have had, or most recently, a 2024 to 2027 list of strategic initiatives coming out of that retreat and subsequent meetings. Figure, hey, we're halfway through that, and some of the things are done, some are deliberately delayed, and a couple of items to add to that list. So really looking at an update as a 2026, 2027 list of initiatives. So a little bit bear with me as I go through the list. So this is recap for you, make sure that we're capturing thoughts that we were talking about a couple months ago. Obviously, I think a big part of the audience here is out there in TV land, but also just a matter of wanting to just catch up and make sure we're on the same page. In the first broad category, financial resilience, we had a couple of initiatives on revenue analysis as well as asset management strategy completed. 100%, we can declare victory, take those off the list and not have to keep addressing those. But those ones are completed. One of the ones is a carryover from the The original strategic plan is budget system evaluation. At that point, it's been delayed, but I anticipate that we'll be picking that up again later this year or early '27. But some of the pieces there are identifying and clarifying some of the issues that drive the budget. We've heard questions about 3% inflation. Why are we looking at an 8% levy increase? Well, there's more to it than just the simplicity of the CPI. Just a couple of years ago, when we increased our funding for mill and overlay and doing some of the skim patching in-house, I remember the presentation from one of our engineers. At that time, whatever it was, 23, 24, 2 years had seen asphalt increase 50%. Tough to do road projects at a 3% inflation when there's 50% increases in the cost for the basic input of the road material. So wanting to identify some of those cost drivers, what happens when we're a growing community. Is it population? Is it service demand? But having a better feel for what's driving some of those budgetary impacts. Better integrating our capital improvement plan with our 5-year projections, things that we're already doing, but have those better married up. And then also identifying some benchmarks. Are there some national or even just across the county or region, some standards for the number of people, parks keepers per acre of maintenance, or the number of investigators for carrying a caseload. So just having a better feel for where some of it fits instead of the knee-jerk reaction of a single number. In the broad category of operational effectiveness, we had a interest a couple of years ago about making sure that all of our departments were fully recruited and fully staffed. It had been completed. We've since then had some vacancies that we continue to process, but some of that I think is an ongoing work. But process improvement program, I think that one really is a subject for a future workshop to make sure that we all get on the same page. But obviously want to continue to look at ways to innovate and improve the work that we do. We've had several different pieces of organizational training that we've implemented over the past couple of years. New onboarding standards, training for supervisors, new training at our management team level, so completed. A new one that came up at our retreat a couple months ago is making sure that we had a priority on emergency preparedness. So currently, we have staff reviewing and updating our emergency operations plan. We do look at that every 2 years, most recently just fall of 2025, a few months ago. But that was much more of a cursory updating of phone numbers and contacts. It wasn't as in-depth. So we're doing an in-depth review of that right now. We're also including a cybersecurity component to that, as well as making sure we have some templates for communications. We can predict some things that might need to be communicated, and let's have that at the ready. A few next steps coming up, some tabletop trainings at staff as well as council, and then also we are reviewing and evaluating status of existing in-house training that we have to see if there's any gaps that might need to be addressed. But critical area. In responsive community development, which covers a lot of pieces, we had a housing needs analysis identified as a need. Dakota County did that for us, I believe, in early 2025, so completed. Site development strategy, so emphasizing more the plan for redeveloping Block 28 across the street here at Country Nights, Dick's Barber, the Wells Fargo building. That's all but complete as far as prepping for it. Next step really would be putting out a request for proposals or qualifications. Then it can move into the next step with actually implementing and constructing that redevelopment. But the strategy piece is all but done. We also had a desire to look at a strategy for redeveloping Block 1, which is the vacant parcel just north of Art Space. That's delayed outside of our hands because of some changes on Met Council's wastewater project. So we really need to wait for them before we can move that project forward. A couple of years ago, we had some great ambitions at wanting to do some significant facility additions, sports complex type view for Vets Park. Subsequently, council workshop really figured that financially that's not feasible at this time. It still stays on the list here from a couple of minor pieces with wanting to get our current lease from the state. State owns about 2/3 of that property, getting that lease extended. Also, there's an interest at doing an economic impact analysis. When we hold tournaments, what kind of financial impact does that have on the community? And even though the plans for doing a project physically are not feasible at the moment, still wanting to follow through on some of the smaller low-hanging fruits related to it. Also, a couple years ago, we had talked about completing the arena project. The refrigeration and roof portion obviously did get completed last year, but the desires to add on to the facility, adding sky boxes and a new entry and some pieces like that, council a year and a half ago decided that that's not feasible at this time. Appreciate getting some input from architects as well as stakeholders, users of the facility, but financially not at this time. Again, still wanting to complete an economic impact analysis on that to have a better idea, better information for future projects. New coming out of our retreat was constructing a inclusive park, which is at least on the planning side at the moment, moving forward. We submitted for a Department of Natural Resources outdoor recreation grant. We're supposed to hear by the end of June. We're waiting, but hopeful on that. Parks Committee also met just a week ago to talk about some of that project. Next steps would be some stakeholder and neighborhood input for the facility, obviously needing to look at budgeting and figure out finances for it, depending on the grant. We're hoping that, planning actually, that construction would be 2027. So this is a project on the fast track. In a broad area of infrastructure sustainability, we had, and again, some of this rolls back, all of this rolls back to the original plan, but some updates to it. Planning for water treatment system, the central plant's under construction. The eastern plant is out for bids and should be beginning construction this fall or this late this summer. Planning is certainly well underway for the Veterans Home interconnect with our system. The financial side, I think, is absolutely part of the planning for it and should also be noted. The western plant will be starting design on that later this fall, presumably, so that it could be out to bid and starting construction next summer. The coordination of the wastewater treatment plant construction was delayed by the Met Council. They had originally planned on building a new facility immediately east of town. That is not viable for them. They're looking at options for pumping it, our waste stream west to facility probably around Empire. From a capacity standpoint, we're fine. The existing plant is perfectly adequate, including for the next dozen years, but it certainly puts on hold that construction element. Highway 61, as you saw for the past couple of hours, there's a lot of planning for that project moving forward, and will continue. We also have a interest at developing an integrated asset management plan. Currently, a lot of that work is being handled through spreadsheets and geographic information system. Staff, engineering department, myself, we're recommending waiting on this initiative. Really, it's a budgetary impact, some questions about staff capacity. So really feeling important piece that we'd like to see move forward. Maybe still in '27, but realistically, it's probably something that we would recommend waiting on, future discussion. The last broad category is in strategic communications. Our prior coordinator, Dawn Skelly, did complete the comprehensive communications plan, a lot of that with input from various stakeholder groups that she met with, internally with council and staff, but also some of the chamber and the DBA and other groups out in the public that we meet with or that we interact with. There is an initiative about a media collaboration improvement plan, which may be a subject for a workshop. Even if not a workshop, I think there really needs to be some clarification about what's desired there. Community engagement strategy, I think we're shifting. During the first couple of years, it had a strong emphasis on technology enhancements and some tremendous work by Dawn Skelly in those areas. We also, in December, went live with a new redesigned website, which is mobile-friendly and meets accessibility requirements ahead of the federal deadline. But as I mentioned, some transition. I think that we're going to be still continuing to focus on engagement, but a matter of not just the technology side, but how do we hear and gain public input, whether it's continuing our every 3-year survey, the MnDOT meeting coming up next week. The Hedra has a pop-up stand at the Makers Markets these Thursdays to hear public input on potential redevelopment of Block 16, the park and ride lot over here. So matters of how do we hear from the public, not just communicate outward. And something that came out of the retreat actually a year ago in '25 was part of that engagement really is community building, and how do we make sure that we have events that help bring neighbors together, and engagement is more than just communication. So wanted to capture that. New coming out of the retreat was some ideas about not just planning for communication, but how do we begin implementing some key areas. Key topics, so is it clarity about PFAS or clarity about Highway 61, transparency about the budget. And my piece that I keep repeating is communication about the budget should be throughout the year, not just a half-page insert in the November tax bill. So going to make sure that we're transparent to the public. The other idea that came out of there, particularly with the idea of a fire station coming up in 4 to 6 years, is planting some seeds now. If we know that it's coming, we should be explaining to people, here's the reasons for this, here's what to expect, here's the impacts of that. So some of those communications coming now. I know I rushed through it. There's a lot there. Some of that's what's been accomplished. Some of it's where we're at as we stand here in July 2026, and some of it's looking forward to next steps. But if there's any feedback or questions, I can certainly stand for those as well.
Sure. Thank you, Dan. Councilmember Verichoff.
Thank you, Your Honor. I love this presentation. I especially love this last slide. There were a lot of really good ideas that came out of the League of Cities conference that some of us were fortunate to attend in Rochester that we would love to follow up with you on, Dan. Some of them involve having public feedback and meeting our community more where they are at. The word's Quick Trip and moving aside the donuts and just having city staff there to answer questions came up. I'm actually not kidding. It's actually a brilliant idea.
I much prefer having a meeting with donuts, but
well, yes,
okay.
we can have the donuts there. But to my point is that there were a lot of good ideas that came out of this conference, and I would love to talk more about them.
Yeah,
But
it was awesome.
thank you for this. This is really helpful.
Thank you, Councilmember Verichov. Councilmember House?
No questions, but I just wanted to thank everyone for their hard work on this. I know it's a lot of planning going in, and I appreciate all the discussions that we've had, and I'd like to move forward to approve the 2026-2027 strategic plan.
Thank you, Councilmember House. Councilmember Leifeld seconds it. Additional discussion, Council? Okay, I'll just add, we appreciate the efforts. This strategic plan is always a fun session with the department heads and the council, and we can brainstorm, and this is what comes out of it. And then we allow staff to move things forward for what the discussions were with the strategic planning. So there is a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed to that motion state by saying nay. And that motion prevails. Thank you, Dan. And all. All right, any announcements from council? Okay, I do have a few. Imagine that. Summer rec programs at Levy Park, Tuesday, July 7th, which is tomorrow. Party in the Park. Celebrate National Parks and Recreation Month with live music by the Rockin' Hollywoods, 50s through 80s rock and roll. Over 30 activity booths and inflatables. The event is free, but food trucks do charge. Thursday, July 9th, Music and Market with Ember, Pop, Rock, and Country, supported by Ruth and George Doffing Charitable Fund. Friday, July 10th, Movie in the Park, How to Train Your Dragon, sponsored by Ardent Mills. Please bring non-perishable food donation. Wednesday, July 15th, Storytime in the Park. The theme is Seasons, a partnership with Pleasant Hill Library. Rec, Art, and Police is Wednesday, July 8th at Sunny Acres Park with Nature, Magic Show, and class. Free activities, lunch, and giveaways. Supported by SC Toys, Country Financial, Hastings Lions Club, Hastings Family Service, Community Ed, and Hastings Prescott Arts Council. MnDOT is hosting, if you didn't hear earlier, a public information meeting about the Highway 61 project on Tuesday, July 14th at the high school. We have an informational meeting about Well Number 9 project on Thursday, July 16th. Upcoming meetings, we have Wednesday, July 8th, 6 p.m. Art and Culture Commission. Thursday, July 9th, 6 p.m. HEDRA. Monday, July 13th, 6 p.m., there's a planning committee meeting, and 7 p.m., there's a planning commission meeting. Wednesday, July 15th, 6 p.m., Parks and Recreation Commission. Thursday, July 16th, 6:30 p.m., Public Safety Advisory Commission meeting. Monday, July 20th, 5:30 p.m., council, we have a workshop on teamwork and a 7 p.m. regular council meeting. With that, I would stand for a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Pemble, and a second by Councilmember Verichov. No discussion. All those in favor of the motion state by saying aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned.